All right, got 6 o'clock. Let's go ahead, call the village board to order. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you everyone for your attendance, and if the minutes can reflect the role of the various trustees and staff, let's move on to item 3. Tonight we have a public hearing to discuss the new park and rec facilities impact fee needs assessment, and give the statement of notice.
Yes, the purpose of this public hearing is for public review and comment regarding the park and recreational facilities impact fee needs assessment and associated impact fees.
Take it away.
At a very high level, I do have Director Wolf available to dig into some of the granular details behind the impact fees. However, what we do is update utilizing a study of demographic trends, forecasted development versus park and recreation facility needs in order to properly service our growing community. This has been an ongoing process over time, and that said, this is a culmination of several projects, being the update of the comprehensive outdoor recreation plan, conducting a needs assessment study, which then in turn facilitates impact fee calculations. What we're here this evening to do is to review the Park and Rec Board's recommendation to update the impact fees as outlined in the ordinance that is attached, and the actual business item is later on in the agenda. So again, a high-level look at this evening's business item.
So this is obviously what we have in front of us is the verbiage change to the ordinance, and I do believe the impact fees and that fee calendar was included in the Park and Rec.
Yes.
So does anybody need any high-level review of that? We're good? Yes, Tom?
Well, are there going to be questions here?
Well, so it's a
Okay.
public hearing.
Yeah.
So typically the way we would do it is we would have a sign-up sheet. There's nobody in the sign-up sheet. Then we would go to the public, and I would assume that everybody here is just here for the purpose of answering questions. So let's turn it over to the board. Questions? Tom?
Just a question in reading the ordinance that we take action on later. Towards the bottom of the page, just above part 2, it indicates that, and this may be language from, I'm sure, prior verbiage, but it indicates the village president will determine the value reduced by the amount of the land dedication. Is that something that you as president would normally do, or should that be delegated to?
Well, that's never come up before. So I mean,
It has?
I've never had to do this.
Yeah, I didn't think it would. So I don't know if it's not a big thing. It's just a logistical thing about who does the determination, and whether it needs to be approved by the board afterwards, or.
I mean, I'm okay with amending that to include that kind of verbiage, determined by the village board and approved by the village president, and approved by the village board, by subtracting the value, if you want to include that.
Well, I don't think the board is in any better position to determine.
Well, I mean, it would obviously come with staff input.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, that would be kind of just a given.
so this is when they dedicate.
Sorry, excuse us. This is a situation where there's a dedication of land in lieu of fees. I don't know if that language was intended to be sort of for convenience.
Check.
Right, but obviously,
Park and Rec Board too.
right, obviously the village board would act on, often we would have a developer agreement or something along those lines, and that would require village board action, but I don't frankly.
So the
remember
park
history of
impact
this.
fee has 2 parts. One is the land dedication fee, and the other is the park improvement fee. And in cases where the park board and staff determine that dedication of land is something that would be preferable over just paying a fee so that we can buy land elsewhere, then the fee would be reduced. I'm not, I mean, that hasn't happened since I've been here. I'm not sure what the procedure has been in the past.
Why it says village president and not village board, I can't.
I don't have a problem, let's just add it. I mean, it's such a easy, it's such a, you know, this is gonna happen, like Jessica said, once every 10 years. And I do recall this has happened in the past, but it's so rare, and it was all worked out at.
Shady Hollow
staff
obviously
level.
had a park dedicated.
Yeah.
Riverbend Meadows is a little bit different because we already had a park there, and so it really is a case-by-case basis. So the preferred language would be to change village president to village board.
Is that, Mr. President, that's what you
Or
said?
as recommended by whatever department forwards the motion to the village board for approval.
Well, but yes, agree, although at the end of the day, I think arguably the board would make the final
Yeah,
determination.
so let's just leave it as is, but after the village president and approved, but by subtracting the value of any lands dedicated within the land development for public park, playground or land or athletic field purpose and approved by village board.
That's a good catch.
Any other questions, comments? All right, does the board feel comfortable acting on this item later on in the agenda? That being said, we'll go ahead and close this portion of the public hearing, and let's move forward with the rest of the agenda. All right, item 6, entertain a motion for the approval of the 9/21/2020 Village Board minutes and the file of the 8/3 Finance Committee, the 8/24 Joint Library Board meeting minutes as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion is second as always, comments, questions, clarifications on the minutes. Hearing none, go ahead.
On page 4 of the board minutes, second last paragraph has to do with the Board of Public Works report and the rate increase. The sentence says, the study showed that Grafton's rates were still quite low compared to many neighboring communities. I don't think that was ever stated that way, because we are no longer quite low. We are in the range of our neighboring communities, but rather than, as in the past, always being in the lower 1/3 percentile, we are now in the upper 1/3 percentile. So that's an incorrect statement.
It's not whether or not the statement is correct or not. It's a matter of public record. I guess the question is,
Okay,
did anybody for, in fact, say that is not the verbs, or that was not the statement that was made?
I don't remember that statement being made, because I would have corrected it at that time, because it certainly isn't.
So is it fair then, can we just make a comment to the effect of what Trustee Krieger says, because it doesn't seem like we're going to be able to come up to a actual consensus unless you want to go back and look at the recording.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not seeing who is the statement attributable to. I'm searching for it, but.
Mr. Brown.
Yeah, Mr. Granum.
It may have been a point misspoken by Mr. Brown in the course of the very brief conversation or presentation that he gave.
He was hard to hear anyway, so.
It was very hard to hear.
I don't remember him saying low. I may have remembered him saying
We're lower than-
median.
All right, well, let's just put in the minutes this time that, Trustee Krieger challenged the validity of the statement.
That sounds-
How's that?
Sure.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Hearing none with that addition, all in favor?
Hang on. One more on page 5.
Yep.
Under Public Works, middle of the page again, let's see, there's a sentence that says this option was chosen as a more cost-effective measure since the plate was still in good, that's pipe. Plate should be pipe.
Yeah. All right, I'm not gonna do until I get the nod from you, Tom, or you.
Everything's good, I'm done.
All right, now we have a motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Anybody in the audience on a non-agenda item? All right, let's move forward with business presented by the president. Nothing on board this time around. Let's move on to item 9, resolutions. Ordinance, action items. Item A is a resolution, and that is to authorize application for the Urban Forest Youth Grant Program. We do this pretty much every year.
Yes.
Pretty much everybody likes it, but it is a resolution. It takes an offer, motion, and a second.
Offer.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Offer, motion, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That resolution passes. Item B is the report of Park and Rec, which we all agreed we would take action on. Item is the motion to approve the updated Village of Grafton Needs Assessment Study, Park and Rec Facilities Impact Fees, and corresponding ordinance be approved.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Comments on that with the one change? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Move on to item C, and that's report of finance. We have 2 items. One is the motion to recommend the village board approve the proposed changes to the medical leave bank, including adding the temporary policy language would sunset on 3/31/21, and it's retroactive back to March 16th of 2020 be approved.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay, motion second. There was some discussion in finance. Does anybody have any questions or follow-up? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Item 2 is a motion to recommend the village board approve the telecommuting policy and procedures, including adding failure to comply with any of the above mentioned requirements set forth in this policy may result in the immediate termination of the telecommuting acknowledgement and potentially result in disciplinary action up to and including termination of employment.
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion is second. Comments on that? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Let's move on to department and officers report. Jesse, you want to update the board?
Certainly, quick update, Lions Park. I had emailed the village board upon being informed that there is damaged playground equipment causing closure of said playground at Lions Park. This is normal wear and tear. It is part of, as someone climbs onto the structure and would cross a bridge, so it is sound right now today. That said, with continued wear and tear, we didn't want to take any chances on somebody getting hurt, as we know it is a well-utilized park. With that, Charlie Donahue, the administrative assistant in Park and Rec, has been working very closely with the vendor to get parts, basically a comparison quote for consideration. Whether it's more cost-effective to repair the broken parts or replace the broken parts, or due to the age of the structure and end-of-year sale prices right now, where basically they're doing 50 to 75% off of play structures being the time of year, if it makes more sense to replace it as a whole based upon the size and features of that particular play set. I do not have an update from Park and Rec with those numbers at this point, but that is where we are at today. The playground remains closed. We are doing our best to find a solution in the most cost-effective manner, again, whether it's replacement of parts or replacement of the structure as a whole. So, that is a Lions Park update. Outside of that, quite frankly, I've been in lockstep with our finance department, just finishing working on the home stretch last sprint of getting an executive budget together. We are on track to publish a book for the trustees this Friday. Absolute worst case scenario, it would be hand delivered on Monday morning. That is worst case scenario. We're doing everything in our power to get it in your hands on Friday afternoon. With that, I do have an update from the clerk's office though. As you know, it is election season. In-person absentee voting starts here at Village Hall, will be held October 20th through the 23rd. And then another stretch from the 26th through the 30th. Currently, the mailings, the clerk's office has mailed just over 3,100 absentee ballots, and we have received back over 1,500 absentee ballots. So right now we're sitting on a 48.7% rate of return. So pretty impressive. The long and short of the clerk's business, the clerk's department is staying out of trouble as they're quite busy with all things election. Another facet to that is they are breaking apart training sessions for the election workers as we don't want to overcrowd one room at a given time. So there are, Carmen, correct me if I'm wrong, they're looking at scheduling 6 separate training sessions for all of the poll workers to make sure everybody is up to speed on all regulations and requirements to make sure everything goes smoothly in November. So that is the updates that I have for the board this evening.
Is there any staffing requirement changes for addressing all the mail-in voting?
As of right now, no. It is the clerk and deputy clerk handling the lion's share. Now, granted, we do have help at the front counter in taking in ballots, but really the organization and mailing out falls completely on the clerk's office. So they are in it to win it.
Okay. Questions?
I have a couple. I wanted to ask, I know I've asked about this before, the library board minutes reflected, I think at one of the last meetings, that they were having a closed session
Okay.
about personnel, but I think they are supposed to at least write library director or some topic
Okay.
when people go into closed session,
Yes.
and they did not, so maybe you can address that with John, or
Absolutely. I can follow up with the library director.
just to give us a clue as to what it was about.
Certainly, and to ensure the meeting is noticed appropriately.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I will make a note of that.
I also saw in the minutes from the library meeting that there was an issue with a family coming in with no masks. And I have not had a chance to talk to John about that. Have
Yes.
you been in contact with him about that?
I have.
Okay.
So what it boils down to is, obviously, there is the state's orders regarding masks. There are some unique exceptions within the state order. However, the library actually had a mask mandate in place prior to the state order. So therefore, the only exemptions under their own, the library's own mask mandate, is a medical exemption, a note from the doctor, so to speak. A note from clergy would not suffice, whereas under the state order, that could create an exemption. With that, it was a individual who does homeschooling, had a group, they came in, were very understandable of the library's policy. They did then either, I apologize, this is where the conversation gets fuzzy. They either left in fairly short order and came back in compliance with masks on, or did obtain a doctor's note. Either way, it was a cordial discussion, and it is something that John continues to work through. So.
Okay, so I believe that the discussion was that he approached them while they were there, or one of his workers did, and they said no, they had health issues, but it was children from 7 different families, so they were questioning how would every family have a health issue. So they reminded them about what the criteria was to utilize the library. They went about their business, they checked out their books, whatever, and they left.
Okay.
John said he knows who it is, and he is going to contact that person to say there's other options available at the library, such as curbside pickup. You can rent things online, but if they decide they want to come in, they are going to have masks on.
Okay. Yes, where they're able to enforce it because it is their in essence, private mandate versus just the state order.
Correct.
Okay, and I'm sorry, one more question.
Oh, please.
Is that information online on the website for the appraisal
Yes.
check? Is that on the
Yes.
website? Okay.
Yep, that is all live.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All
Yep.
right, thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
I've got a couple, Jesse. On my friend's playground, I know that's a volunteer, but we've been doing a lot of work on it. It appears like it's pretty close to Let's
Yes.
Open. Do you have a approximate target date on that?
I do not. I would have to follow up with Park and Rec on that, as they've been really looking to finalize those last final things. I know there was a big push on making sure the sidewalk was poured and appropriately installed. That way, the company could come in to do the rubber play surface, because they would not do that until the sidewalk around the park playground structure was poured. And there was a big push because that company would not hold the pricing on that rubber play surface for another year, basically until one weather came around again. So I know it continues to be a big push on behalf of Park and Rec, and I know Amber is helping out a little bit as well. That said, I do not have a very specific up-to-date a status right now.
Saturday I was there, and there is sidewalk poured,
Yes.
and there is, that rubberized stuff is installed. So what else yet?
That's what I said, I don't have a specific update other than what I just explained with. That last big step was to ensure the concrete was poured, then the play surface could be put in,
It's all
and
done.
after that, it is small things, and I don't have an update with
Okay.
with
Shoot
that
an
email.
email to the group.
Mr.
Okay.
President, so I was there on the community work day, and the
Okay.
ladies in charge of the group said that their goal was to have it open October 15th. And that may have changed since I was there, but that was the last date I heard.
I have my follow-up question for the election, and maybe Chief, are we gonna have any police presence there? What's the procedure at the polling?
Yeah, there will be some police presence there at polling. The clerk had requested that, so I met with Captain Grissom today, and we are posting an overtime position for that, and we will probably likely have one of our reserves there as well. So there will be at least 2 of us there, 1 fully uniformed officer.
Good question.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right, let's move on to item 11, licenses. We have 1 individual, their person, and their place of employment is listed. I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 12, report of the bills. Entertain a motion for the approval of village expenditures, $727,535.14. I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Couple of back and forth clarifications and then some comments on Clark separating out the enterprise funds. It's another good idea. Any questions?
Yeah, I have one. Northland Sales, it's All My Friends Playground Supervisory Hours. Anybody know what that was for?
I had that question too.
Northland Sales,
It's on page
supervisor.
10.
Yes, we actually had to purchase additional time from the installing company to ensure the playground was constructed correctly. That is, All My Friends Playground is much bigger than anything any of our staff has ever constructed. And the long and short of it is, we wanted to make sure it was done right. And so we purchased additional supervisory time for that install.
But it's called Shady Hollow Park though, in the.
I believe that is labeled incorrectly.
Okay.
I know with the company and contractor associated with Centennial and the All My Friends, that we had to purchase extra time. We needed more help.
Other questions?
Yeah, so Jesse, do you know which account that came out of then?
No, I would have to
Okay,
look
you
and I
could
can
just
report
check.
back. Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Other questions on the bills? That being said, motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Item 13, motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Camera, please.
You're just along for the ride tonight.
I'm sorry?
You're just along for the ride tonight.
I come to see